India, an ancient land home to 1.4 billion people, the second highest in the world, following China's 1.45 billion people, and they are expected to overtake them as soon as 2027 AD. This is a country that is deeply religious and is the birthplace of four major religions, including Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism, and this tradition reaches back thousands of years, beginning in the Vedic Age. This is Ancestria, land of the Aryas. After reaching its peak around 2000 BC, the Indus Valley Civilization declined in the centuries that followed, and the great cities of old were abandoned. The vast populations dispersed over wide areas and congregated into much smaller communities. It was upon this backdrop that a new society emerged in the Punjab region of the Indian subcontinent around 1500 BC. They were the Indo-Aryans, a branch of Indo-Europeans who migrated to this region during the decline of the Indus civilization. They brought with them a pantheon of gods and a collection of oral traditions known as the Vedas. These were hymns, prayers, chants, spells, philosophies, and commentaries that dictated the fabric of their society. These semi-nomadic peoples were warlike tribes who dominated the indigenous inhabitants on the field of battle, largely due to their metalworking abilities and the combination of horse and chariot. As the centuries ground on, they became less and less nomadic, and eventually, with the assistance of indigenous knowledge of irrigation, they adopted agriculture. One of the most notable wars was the Battle of the Ten Kings that took place between 1400 and 1200 BC. This was a coalition war where 10 allied tribes attempted to defeat a tribe called the Bharatas, likely for control of the rivers. However, the Bharatas were able to defeat them before merging with another tribe to form the Kudu, which would become a powerful kingdom and the first major state in the region since the end of the Indus Valley Civilization. During this time, our ancestors adopted iron tools and weapons, allowing for an easier way of clearing forests and intensified their agricultural efforts. This was subsequently followed by the emergence of large towns and kingdoms as they pushed further to the east and to the south. While the Kudu kingdom would not be the only one in the region, it became a stronghold for Brahmanic culture of the Vedas that placed great emphasis on ritual and sacrifice. Eventually, it became part of the Hindu synthesis, which is the idea that Hinduism is a fusion of Brahmanic culture with various ancient Indian beliefs that developed for thousands of years. With this progress came the solidification of the caste system, where priests stood on the top of the pyramid, followed by kings and warriors, then the peasants and traders, and on the bottom were slaves and laborers. Caste was determined by your bloodline, and intermarriage between the castes became forbidden. Even one's profession was restricted, which in turn limited their economic and political power. It was likely to enshrine the power of the priests, rulers, and warriors, allowing them to shape India, remaining a central tenet for thousands of years. The Kudu kingdom was the dominant political and cultural center of the Middle Vedic period, but they entered a decline after a defeat by a rival in the 9th century BC. But by this time, the legacy of the Vedic culture had taken root and flourished in the hearts and minds of our ancestors. The socio-economic life of old India had broken down, and a new era began. In the millennia that followed, the culture that began with the Vedic peoples would be codified and enhanced, eventually being folded into Hinduism, the world's third largest religion. On the other hand, Buddhism and Jainism came into being with the rejection of the Vedas, and the Indian subcontinent would become a heartland of religious and scientific innovation. This is Ancestria, the history of our ancestors.